The government has hatched a plan to get annual egg production up to 15 million units per year, slash the food import bill by $12.5 million, and make the Bahamas self-sustainable in egg production.
I'm excited.
Ground was broken yesterday launching the Golden Yoke project, being constructed at the Gladstone Road Agriculture Center. The $15 million investment in a state-of-the-art feed mill and 7 grow houses in New Providence and 38 spread over 12 family islands is a partnership between the Ministry of Agriculture and BAIC. Prime Minister Philip Davis on the impact.
Golden Yoke project builds on this commitment to ramping up local food production. Indeed, it goes hand in hand with our pledge to ensure every Bahamian has sufficient access to affordable and nutritious food.
Agriculture Minister Clay Sweeting explains the contractual agreement which will guide the partnership.
This is a contract agreement between farmers and a special purpose vehicle that will be created for this project specifically. Firstly, the project will see the construction of 6 grow houses in New Providence that are turnkey operations. The special purpose vehicle will provide the building, the layers, the VAT services, and other inputs. The contracted farmer will monitor and care for the investment. Upon production, the contracted farmer will sell all the eggs to the special purpose vehicle, who will deduct the cost of the inputs and pay the profits to the farmer. The special purpose vehicle will sell the eggs to the wholesalers for distribution on every food store shelf throughout the country.
The government has allocated $500,000 in grants to farmers and $1 million in funding to secure broilers and support livestock farming. Livestock has been purchased for breeding and distribution to farmers, and a swine breeding center and kidding barns are being revived as part of a food security push Prime Minister Philip Davis is continuously working to fulfill.
The Golden Yoke project delivers on several commitments outlined in our blueprint for change, namely the creation of jobs, the development of our family islands, and the empowerment of Bahamians. The project's 3-phase implementation will see the creation of some 90 jobs, over half of which will be based in the family islands. These new jobs mean more disposable income for Bahamians, be they from Abaco in the north or Inago in the south. They also translate to a more robust and diverse economy for our country.
The infrastructure for the Golden Yoke project should be completed by year's end. Keeping you in the know, this is OPM Press Now. The Office of the Prime Minister Press Office is the primary liaison between the Fourth Estate and the Office of the Prime Minister and Cabinet.
Every day, we are working to build a more inclusive economy and a stronger, safer country.
Hear all of the latest developments as the Davis administration carries out the broad mandate of progress and change. Our live weekly press briefings provide full access to current newsmakers on the most topical issues of the day. We facilitate prompt responses from cabinet ministers on the latest reports and get answers on the issues that matter to you.
Will any penalties be levied against the
OPM Press Now, keeping you in the know.
Good morning, media colleagues and those joining us via the stream. It is a pleasure to welcome you to the Office of the Prime Minister's weekly press briefing. We have an exciting briefing planned for you today, so without further ado, I will introduce Press Secretary Clint Watson, who is coming to introduce our guests for today.
Good morning. Thank you, Julian. Good morning, colleagues, and welcome to another press briefing. Those of you joining us via the various streams, we are indeed delighted to have you another week as we discuss the affairs of the Davis administration. We're going to be talking with our National Security Minister, the Honorable Wayne Munro, this morning. He will update you, obviously, on crime-fighting initiatives that we're working on. It's particularly in light of recent comments by the Commissioner. And then, of course, update you on that Haitian mission, which would have taken place this week, which he was a part of as well. And then take whatever questions you may have, and I'll take whatever questions you may have for the administration this morning. We're not going to keep you long today, so we're going to try and do record time today to get you in and out. So without further ado, Minister of National Security, the Honorable Wayne Munro.
Thank you, Clint. Let me first update on the mission to Haiti. I led the Bahamian delegation, which was comprised of myself, the Minister of Immigration and Labor, the Honorable Keith Bell. We were accompanied by the Bahamian Charge in Haiti, Commander Godfrey Roll. The purpose of the mission was, as promised by CARICOM, to engage the stakeholders in Haiti to seek to see if we can help to facilitate a Haitian solution to the problems in Haiti. If you have seen on the Office of the Prime Minister's website the framework policy on immigration in the Bahamas, a key component, component 3, is international cooperation. And this is a leg of the international cooperation. As things spiral out of control in Haiti, as insecurity grows, more and more people take to boats to seek to leave Haiti. So if Haiti is stabilized, fewer people would take these dangerous voyages, and it would positively impact the migrant situation in the Bahamas. We flew into Port-au-Prince, which is a part of Haiti that is not at peace. The CARICOM delegation was led by the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, the Prime Minister of Jamaica. We met with the Haitian National Police, who were formed only in 1995. They've been a body only from 1995. They indicated that they had limitations on the ability to engage with the gangs in the areas that the gangs control. They needed assistance with training. They needed assistance with structural advice as to how to structure the Haitian National Police. The Haitian National Police deals not only with policing, they deal with the Coast Guard, they deal with prisons, and they need assistance with advice across all of those areas. It was disclosed that their police college is located in a gang infested area, and there was a need for relocation. An issue of training of members for the Haitian National Police in a third country was raised and would be under consideration. We met and spoke with the Canadians, who have 3 members of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police on the ground in Haiti, to discuss what their view of it was. We then met with the Haitian Transitional Council, which is the civil body charged with seeking to bring about transition to elections in Haiti. We met with the political parties, we met with civil society, we met with the Chamber of Commerce and Business community, and we met with the churches. All in all, we met with over 70 persons. The main theme from all parties, inclusive of the Haitian National Police and the Canadians, is that insecurity is a problem in Haiti, and nobody believes that you can have free, fair elections with the state of insecurity in Haiti. We have come away from the fact-finding mission very clear about what the issues are. We've briefed the Prime Minister. The National Security Council of this country will meet and consider the matter, and then the Prime Minister, as chairman of CARICOM, will meet with our regional partners to determine a course of action to assist to fortify the Haitian National Police. so that they may take on the issue of insecurity in their country. It may seem a small thing, but for an institution that was only formed in 1995, it is a matter of some importance that they be put on a proper footing and proper resourced. And so that would be the mission to Haiti. I can entertain questions for that at the end when I'm finished the update on the plans here of addressing the issues in this country. You would be aware that yesterday the Commissioner of Police held a press conference with regard to his policing plan that he released for this year. That was tabled in the House last week. Everyone in the Bahamas would be well aware of the state of affairs in this country. It would appear that there is a lack of civility that is increasing, that has led to an uptick in crimes against a person, inclusive of murder. There seems to be a disregard for humanity, which has led to an uptick in sexual offenses. And surprisingly, the only offenses that got a decrease were property crimes, which is, for want of a better word, surprising. The Commissioner of Police has set out his priorities. They are there for all to see. Some notable new strategies that have been unveiled and are being unveiled is to tackle sexual offenses. We're concerned that the victims of sexual offenses should not be run around when they are making complaints. We're concerned that they should be greeted in a proper environment and get the proper support. We are also concerned that the victims of domestic violence do not experience the harrowing experience of having to go from one police station to a next police station to another police agency. So very shortly you will have opened a consolidated sexual offenses domestic violence unit that will not only house the members of the Central Detective Unit, CID, but will also have offices for NGOs to take care of the needs of victims of sexual offenses and domestic abuse. The Commissioner is very adamant that we cannot tolerate this type of crime, and the victims of this type of crime must feel comfortable to come forward and make their complaints, and must have a proper experience with the system in order to have confidence to come forward and give their evidence. You would have also seen the opening of the anti-gang firearms task force at police headquarters. This is not only an interagency task force from this country, but it also partners with our regional partners, the US. And so it contains officers not only from the Royal Bahamas Police Force, but the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, the Bahamas Immigration Department, Bahamas Customs, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearm Agency from the US, and Homeland Investigations from the US. The object is to interdict the flow of firearms from the US, where they are produced, to the Bahamas, where they are responsible for 80% of the homicides in this country. That has borne fruit already, and we expect that it will continue to bear fruit. A crime-fighting strategy that may not be very obvious to the Bahamian public, and we're trying to stress it more and more, is that criminals do not appear overnight. They're created through a process of socialization. The young man who at 15 now, 16 now, 18 now, 20 now, we find gunning down people mercilessly in the street and their homes, did not suddenly wake up one day and decide to become a murderer. It's a process that can be interrupted, and a strategy for reduction of crime is to interrupt that journey. From an innocent child born to a Bahamian mother, to her good son who is shooting somebody 3 or 4 times in the head. That is a journey. We must interrupt that journey from birth to that point. The Royal Bahamas Defense Force has a youth development office that is involved with a number of programs to intervene with young people along that journey. And we are about to launch a new one that will intervene with children now in primary school, because we find that the age of offenders are falling and the behavior of our children in our primary school is worsening. And so we expect to launch the HYPE program, which is a specific intervention program for primary school students. The Royal Bahamas Police Force, through its various programs, also seek to break that journey from birth to murderer. And it has a number of programs under its community outreach that engages with young people to seek to deter them, to interrupt that journey from birth to murderer. A number of our churches are partnering with us to provide wholesome programs, again, to break that journey from birth to murderer. The one plea that the Commissioner of Police and myself as Minister of National Security would make to the general public is, you can participate in this action. It is very trite that it takes a village to raise a child. And so the fact that a child is born to a single parent and has no engagement with a father is no excuse for us not to intervene in his or her life. And so we would be calling on more churches, because the churches do a lot now, more civic groups, to make yourself available and become involved. I repeat and stress, people do not wake up and decide to do these crimes that make our statistics. It is a journey from birth, when we are all innocent, to that point. And it is our job to intervene in that journey, identify the persons on that road, and seek to deter them. That is all of our responsibilities as citizens in this country. I would, with that, open the floor to questions.
Do you think the governments, past, present, have had the will to intervene though? Because we can look around the world at countries that have low murder rates, countries with high murder rates. They do certain things, we do certain things. We've had prime ministers in the past. Like you say just now, you point out that it's an intervention that's needed. Is there enough will to intervene? Because, I mean, crime has been bad for many years now, not just now.
Well, what I would say is this. When you compare yourself, we know that there are certain countries where crime is very low, and socially they approach life differently than we do. We can't wait to become socially like them, even if it is possible. When the National Development Plan, Vision 2030, was worked on under the Christie Davis administration, there's a section that deals with just this. Urban renewal was a big part of that thrust. Organizations like the Royal Bahamas Defense Force Rangers, the police, cadets, a number of programs were launched. It was the understanding that a national development plan would depoliticize this issue, and so these programs would be continued. Unfortunately, that did not happen with the change in government. And so we found the urban renewal program, the urban renewal ban languishing, And when we came back, now we have to reinvigorate it. We find a level of deviance having fallen from the need to intervene with junior and senior high students now to primary school. The government, through its agencies, is making available the resources to do that. It is, however, a cooperative effort. So I will give you an example. The HYPE program is a multi-agency program. There's a discipline component that is provided by the Royal Bahamas Police Force, Defense Force, and Department of Corrections. There is an educational component to identify children, and HYPE is helping young people excel, to identify the young people who aren't excelling because of academic reason, and you have academic persons to help with maths and English. The Ministry of Health is assisting through the delivery of its Aspire curriculum to deal with anti-drug conflict resolution, that program. The Department of Social Services is partnering in it because it has its social workers as guidance counselors in the schools to identify the children who need to be the subject of intervention. And they're also helping, because these children don't raise themselves, in identifying the parents and to provide parenting classes for these children who are going astray. All of that being said, we still have a responsibility. I'll give you an example. In my church, I work with the altar servers. They're largely young people. So when these young people come and talk to me about things that are going on, it gives me an opportunity to intervene. So far, we've had only one of them who did not adhere to direction, because you will always have one or two. But it is incumbent on us, wherever we meet and interact with young people, that we pay attention. That's just very important. And if you see somebody who needs intervention, to do it. This is a job for the whole village, not just the government. But the government, this administration, understands its obligation, and we approach it from a multi-ministry, multi-agency approach, and we have the will. What has been surprising to us is that the officer who runs the Defense Force Youth Development Office, when we were looking at a juvenile facility in Florida, said to me that a principal of a primary school had called him to ask them to come and to engage with a gang leader at their school who was in grade 3. And so as the administrators of the schools know of the resource, they are reaching out to engage the resource. And as we get more and more demand, then the Commodore of the Defense Force, the Commissioner of Police, the Commissioner of BDOX will have to do what is necessary to make more resources available. We will help them because we are continuously recruiting to increase their numbers, to give them the capacity to deliver that help. But it is not an overnight thing, as the song says. It is something that it's a journey from birth to being a shooter who will shoot someone 3-4 times in their head at 15, at 16, at 17. That's a 15-year journey, a 16-year journey. And so we have to do what is necessary to break that cycle, to stop that journey coming to completion.
You mentioned the consolidated sexual offenses unit being in the works. Is there a timeline kind of for when that will be opened or launched? Is it going to be like this year?
So it should be a matter of weeks. They have identified a building. I think at this point, my last briefing was that they were doing the outfitting of it, because little things like the color of walls that greet someone could affect your psyche, so they're doing it properly. and they're outfitting it now. I would anticipate a formal opening hopefully within the outside period, a month or so, given the briefings that I would have had. I expect it to have oversight by a assistant commissioner of police to basically underline the seriousness with which the commissioner of police ascribes to this area.
That the police force in Haiti, they would have outlined some challenges, one being that their police college is in a gang-infested area. Is there any more challenges that they would have communicated to you that you can share with us?
Yes, they outlined that their problem was numbers of officers, and that is a matter that we contend with too, and the way that you address that is recruitment. And so the Canadians were saying they probably needed a school that could take 700 people at once. Their present school can only take 300 people, and it has difficulties remaining open. They also expressed that they lacked experience, because numbers is one thing, experience to meet the challenge is a different thing. They also would wish to have air assets when they assault the gang control areas, because if you've ever watched any of these videos, you see what is entailed in the urban environments that they operate in. They made one request, for instance, they had ordered 18 armored personnel carriers. Of the 18, only 8 have been delivered so far, and the armored personnel carriers would permit them to insert and extract police officers from hostile environments. And so little practical things like that. The most distressing thing for us when we were being driven from the airport to the Hotel Montana where the meeting was held was Minister Bell asked our driver, who was a member of the Haitian National Police, what was their greatest problem. And he said their greatest problem was hunger, because there are problems surrounding them being paid. So practical matters have to be addressed. We cannot permit Haiti to cycle down to pure chaos. That would not be in the Bahamian national interest. That would not be in the interest of the people in this hemisphere who are Haiti's neighbors.
Our numbers on the police force, would it be fair to say that a part of our problem really is enforcement of the law? Our numbers normally, I guess we recruit to fill the vacancies that exist. If people retire, if persons die, if people leave on the force. I don't know what the numbers are. What are the numbers right now? And will we ever see a real exercise where, a recruitment exercise, where the numbers are really increased so we could really address some of these issues? As simple as running a red light. Now there's the left turn and people are not really, simple things that. I mean, all of these things add to the problems that exist.
Well, the numbers range around 3,500, and that's all in. There's a problem that we inherited when you do not recruit to at least match your attrition rate, the rate of people leaving. Now, since taking office, we have recruited at least 2 squads a year, at least. And in fact, in the first year, we recruited 2 squads and a firefighting squad, which contained some officers from Turks and Caicos and some for ordinary policing duties. And so the commitment of this government, when you look at the immigration framework, and if you notice what we're doing, where it's pointless talking about enforcing the law if you don't have people to enforce it. So we're aggressively recruiting police officers. The commissioner is in the process of recruiting reserve police officers. We're aggressively recruiting defense force officers. We get 2 squads of them every year by the grace of the Prime Minister, who is the Minister of Finance. We recruited the largest immigration squad ever, having come to office, and the Minister of Immigration tells me he's recruiting again. And so the way that you answer these problems is recruitment. When the current commissioner was deputy commissioner and acted when the previous commissioner went on a trip, he presented a plan for saturation patrols. Well, to have saturation patrols, you need officers and you need vehicles. And so we've been given, again, with the grace of the Prime Minister, who's the Minister of Finance, who I find very receptive to my request on behalf of the security forces, 100 patrol vehicles, which will now be light trucks. And light trucks because they have a carrying capacity, they have a ground clearance if you have flooding on our roads, which we know is notorious. And so we now are getting the capability for these saturation patrol. And you've seen some results where people have been caught right after the act. The commissioner is indicating that they're working on what I like to call a sector board, which is a board in the police control room that will tell police control room where every patrol vehicle is. I happen to have a detail that has a radio. And if you listen to control room seeking to find out which unit is in an area, it's a difficult thing to watch. And so we're upgrading our tools so that control room could see the suspect vehicle is traveling on this road, and I have a police vehicle right ahead of it, so I can direct that unit what to do. So these are the type of improvements that we expect to see so that no roadway on this island would be safe for the transit of criminals. And so you are quite correct. We have to continue to aggressively recruit to not only meet our attrition rates, but to increase by 800 or 900 the number of officers available to the Commissioner of Police. In the same way, we have to recruit to increase the numbers of Defense Force personnel. The Commodore currently provides to the Commissioner of Police some of his Marines to supplement the police in their patrol efforts. You will see that the Commodore, for instance, is supplying some of his Marines in Operation Secure, which is where we're aggressively going after the immigration issue. So all of our law enforcement agencies are cooperating to make sure that we have cover. They're not operating in silos anymore.
Social services, they're clearing lands now, taking down, demolishing those abandoned homes and stuff like that. That should assist.
That is a part of urban renewal, and you remove the old cars because people hide guns and drugs in cars. You remove the old homes because people hide guns and drugs in the old home. I've been lobbying in my constituency to have the old city lodge that catches a fire every 3 or 4 months demolished because we've had 2 murders in the Oak Trail area that was facilitated by that dilapidated structure. So dilapidated structures don't only pose a vector control problem with rats and other vermin, but it is somewhere where the other vermin, the human vermin, can hide, where they can hide their guns, where they can hide their drugs. So removing them not only beautifies the neighborhood, but it removes a hiding place.
Okay. What is the difficulty in getting these abandoned buildings removed, though, in terms of the law?
There's a formal demolition process because we have a constitutional guarantee of the sanctity of your property that is subject to certain exceptions. And one of the exceptions is public safety, public health, and of course, the Ministry of Works can issue a demolition order if a dilapidated structure is structurally unsound. So it's important to comply with the law because we are a country of laws. And so that is the process that we're engaged in. A lot of the owners of these properties consent to them being taken down, and that makes it quicker and easier.
And there is still, though, there is a serious problem with the lighting. Street lighting is a serious problem.
Well, the Bahamas Power and Light has engaged on a process to remove the mercury vapor lights to replace them with the LED lights. That is an aggressive campaign that they are rolling out. When they began it in Freetown, I met with the current CEO, Siobhan Cambridge, who advised that they not only have BPL crews working, but they have, I think it's 3 private contractors working to install the lights across New Providence. So practical relief is on the way and being delivered and under that head as well.
Minister, some members of the Rasta community, they're concerned that they may still be, subject to arrest for using their sacrament. What's the update on that? What can we expect in our police? Because I see Commissioner Fernandez said, minor and major crimes crack down. Smoking marijuana is still a crime. So
Being found in possession of marijuana is a crime.
So should Rastas continue to be concerned?
I've met with representatives of the Rastafarian movement. In fact, this morning, they sent me another letter. I sent it over to OAG for advice. It is a matter that the police can take policing decisions. So if you want to look at how the prosecutor in Baltimore in the U.S. decided to approach it, you can determine how you approach them. If they have a potential legitimate claim for the right to practice their religion, you may or may not want to confront them over it if it causes liability to the state. I know that there's currently a decision that's being awaited, I think, from Justice Klein on this question. And what you have to bear in mind is, let's say they get a decision that say they're correct and they're entitled to damages. Going about and harassing them exacerbates the amount of money the state would have to pay. So I expect to get sanguine, considered advice from the Office of the Attorney General as to the proper way to approach it.
So you're saying that the commissioner has discretion to maybe instruct his officers not to enforce a particular law?
You have the prosecuting authority. You always had a commissioner talk about getting advice from the DPP as to what to prosecute. What we're seeking is advice from the Office of the Attorney General as to the approach to take in the position that was put to me in writing by some of the Rastafarian community. I can't say as Minister of National Security, I don't know what their claim is, because they've put it to me in order to consider it. As lawyers, we say, the lawyer who advises himself as a fool for a client. I try not to be foolish. In the context of the government, the Office of the Attorney General renders advice to ministries. I've sought the advice of the Office of the Attorney General. On the matter of the sacramental use of marijuana by practicing Rastafarians. We're not talking about smoking dope to smoke dope. We're talking about the actual issue of the sacramental use of marijuana by practicing Rastafarians. It is a matter that they've written to me on, and I'm bound to seek the advice of the Office of the Attorney General.
In the interest of national security, would it not be wise to have, those abandoned homes are being demolished. Would it not be wise to have these, all these areas, these bushy areas, cleared down. And if the government doesn't do it, then, mandate that the homeowners do it, the property owners do it. The government should take on the responsibility.
You do have some clearing happening, and it happens now. The problem, of course, is that you clear it down today, it rains, and if you've not applied mulch to it in another 3-4 months, it's grown up again. There are some areas that we receive requests to the Bahamas Department of Corrections to have work gangs work on keeping them clear, keeping them beautified, and the Commissioner of Corrections almost always responds positively to those, as the residents of the Department of Correction are always eager to work. Contrary to public belief, they are eager to work and be outside of their cells in the open air, even if it is working.
You expect to see them out even more, or it has to be requested, or?
It would have to be the subject of a request. They would have to make provision for them to be accompanied by a corrections officer, because they're in custody when they're outside if accompanied by a correction officer. The Department of Correction is starting back up now. Its proper programming process to assess residents, to give them practical experience so that they could actually be able to do something useful and productive when they're released.
So we can expect to see more of them out there and clearing down these bushy areas.
Men requested, and you already see them clearing the verges. You should be seeing them clearing the verges on, I think it's Yamacraw Hill Road, straight to the sea, because that's an easy one. That's outside the wall of the correctional institution.
Thinking about the inner city areas and that sort of thing, because that's where it's really needed.
There is a provision, that the owner of property have to keep their property underbrushed. And if they don't do it, the Ministry of, it used to be the Department of Environmental Health Services, could do it and give the homeowner a bill.
So here we come to enforcement again, right?
Sorry?
I said here we come to enforcement again, or the lack of.
They're simply doing it, yes. And then, of course, if I'm a homeowner and I say it's sufficiently underbrushed and you disagree with me and you do it, I'll see you in court and you burn resources. So everything is taken with advice and a determination.
Minister, you mentioned earlier that you're seeing crime happening at a very early age, and there are programs being implemented at the primary school level. What are some of these problems that you're now seeing at that level that contribute to crime that's happening? And is it fair to say, or can you say this time, are we seeing somewhat of a crisis with regards to crime in the country?
Well, this thing about crisis is always a big question. A crisis is defined as an opportunity, basically. If you have a medical crisis, it's an opportunity to intervene, and you will either go up or you will go down, depending on how you intervene with the crisis, right? So clearly, when we are recording, I think, persons charged with murder as young as, 15, 16, a person charged with multiple murder at 17, clearly, as we keep saying, it's a journey to that point. So if the young man is 15 or 17, that means taking it back 3 or 4 years previously, we should have been seeing some things that should have caused us to act. In the primary schools, the behavior that these administrators, these guidance counselors are reporting to us is just amazing. Young grade 2, grade 3-year-old boys telling grown female teachers to do this to their genitals, the next to their genitals in front of other students. A problem with primary school students selling drugs in school. A problem with hypersexual young girls passing notes inviting the young boys to have intercourse with them at different places. The reports coming out of these schools, and in one case there was also a private school reaching out for help, is just unfathomable to those of us of this generation. But it is happening, And so we can't bury our heads in the sand. We have to approach it and deal with it. Very shortly after we've done more work, you will see consultation being sought over whether the state should engage to have a public boarding school for children whose parents cannot manage them at home, are not properly parenting them, and need to be taken into state care. Because the complaint also is the children come to these programs, they're being engaged with, and they go back to the same environment that is creating the problem in the first place. These are the difficult questions that we have to grapple with that relate to crime reduction. And so that's why it's not a simple thing. It is something that has to be deliberate and continuous. And these are the sorts of things that myself, the Minister of Social Services, the Ministers of Education, and the Minister of Health contend with to move the needle back on the age at which children are engaging with criminality.
I suppose moving towards the podium with one more question. With regards to your mission to Haiti, your recent mission to Haiti, I'm hearing that it was just the Bahamas and Jamaica represented from this region. And do you care to elaborate on some of the discussion, the details of some of the discussion that were held with Haitian officials with regards to the crisis in Haiti that is impacting the Bahamas?
Well, it wasn't just the Bahamas and Jamaica. It was the Jamaican Prime Minister, it was his foreign minister, it was myself and Minister Blair, Minister Bell, it was the High Commissioner for Trinidad and Tobago to Canada, and it was the director of CARICOM Impacts. It was a CARICOM mission. The main problem with Haiti is insecurity. Somebody put it like this: the first problem with Haiti is insecurity. The second problem with Haiti is insecurity. And the third problem with Haiti is insecurity. We got that from a number of participants. And the only question is, how do we resource and support the Haitian National Police to address the problem? They clearly said they would regard military intervention as an assault on their sovereignty. That's something they said very clearly. So they're asking for support of the Haitian National Police at this moment. They're asking for advisors. They're asking for equipment. And they're asking for intelligence sharing. All of the groups made it very clear that military intervention they would see as an affront to their sovereignty. They said they've experienced it with the UN over the last 20 years, and when the UN leaves, the problems go right back again. So we have to build the institution that will keep peace and security in Haiti.
So thank you. Thank you for that very comprehensive update within your portfolio and regards. We have a few more minutes, so if there are any other questions for the administration, I'll take those now. Hi. Thank you.
We know that the Tourism, Aviation and Investments Minister would have announced that demolition orders were given for 9 buildings for downtown Nassau. Who will foot the bill of that demolition? We know that it's typical downtown Nassau, the Bay Street Boys own a lot of it. Are any of those buildings which are set for demolition owned by these Bay Street Boys, and who's going to foot the bill of this demolition?
I'm not aware. It's something that he and his ministry is discussing and obviously trying to figure out the best way to go about it. We can get the information for you. I have nothing on that, actually. His ministry and, of course, the Bay Street Redevelopment Program, they're all working together in tandem for that, and that's been a separate working group in that regard. But we can get the information for you quite easily. Anybody else?
But does the Prime Minister agree with, that the Attorney General stands on the permanent secretaries showing up in front of the Public Accounts Committee? What's the Prime Minister's stance on
He's not verbalized that to me. All right. Anybody else?
Where are we with the suite of human rights related legislation? We never got an update on that.
I have no update on that as well either. The Attorney General is working with a number of bills, and we can check to see where they are with that, but we've got no further update on that. Anyone else?
The National Cleanup Exercise, when is that scheduled to take place?
We do know that there is one being planned. I can't say any specifics on that. Minister of Environment and his Minister of State are leading those initiatives. I can speak further to it on that. Anybody else? For Independence 50th, I agree. Nothing like cleaning up before an anniversary. I totally agree. Anybody else? All right, so that ends our press briefing. You know how to reach out to us if you have any further questions or concerns here at the press office. Thank you. Good morning.